Welcome, Crafty Friends. Annie Collins here for Pajama Crafters. Today we're going to create these two cards. Let me go over the products I use. I use the Birds of a Feather stamp set. This stamp set contains 4 large images and tiny little prints, footprints, and has great sentiments like thinking of you, a little birdie told me. But we're going to use today Let Your Dreams Be Your Wings with our feather, and with the little birdie I'll use Thinking of You. I have some Strathmore Coldpress cardstock that we'll be using. I have 2 pieces of it. One I'll stamp and our images. The other one I'll use as background, black cardstock. And I have pattern paper, a little strip of brown cardstock, and a goldenrod yellow, and my 2 card bases. I've already die cut the 2 pieces I need for our sentiments. I'm going to put everything back and just pull out the watercolor cardstock, set that aside, and my sentiment strips, set those aside. We're going to be watercoloring with distressed stains and distressed inks. For the stains, I'll be using for the background, and then for the images, I'm going to use chipped sapphire and hickory smoke for the feathers, along with this Imagine Crafts Sheer Shimmer Craft Spray in Sparkle. I'm going to use a little bit of paint, black paint, and distressed Oxide and black soot for my splatter today. For card number 2 for our little birdie, I'm going to use distressed inks in mustard seed, fossilized amber, I forgot the other, ripe persimmon, and I can't remember the other color right off the top of my head, but I will have them all for you. Spice marmalade. And I have some watercolor brushes here, some water, and I'm going to heat emboss. So I have some VersaFine, Clair, and Nocturne, some Ranger clear embossing powder, and my little stamp press buddy here. How adorable. And I'm going to have my anti-static powder. I'm going to start by stamping our images and our sentiment because we're going to be heat embossing those. So I'm going to grab my stamping platform, and I'm sorry for the glare. There's nothing I can do about that. I'm going to grab that larger of the 2 watercolor cardstocks, and I'm going to place that in the stamping platform. I'm going to grab my images, which is the little birdie here, and my feather. And I'm going to stamp the feather twice. So I'm going to rearrange this onto my platform how I need it to make sure I have space to, well, I have plenty of space, but that I can place both feathers there. I'll pick it up, and I'm going to put some anti-static powder on here. And apparently mine decided that I needed a lot of powder. As you can see, I have an excess there. So I'm going to remove this panel, dump the excess powder into my trash can, and then I'll place it back into the platform. Sometimes it comes out a little. Today it came out a lot. All right, so now I'm going to ink up my images with the Nocturne ink, and I'll stamp this a few times because we are working on watercolor paper, so we want it to be nice and crisp. So I'm going to there, and I'll use the stamp buddy here to help me put nice even pressure. Looks pretty good, but I'm going to do it again just because I can tell it's not completely in there nice and crisp. Now that it is, I'll remove the little birdie, and then I'll clean my feather stamp, and I'll place it once again and stamp it again. So here I'm placing it, and I'll stamp it twice right there, and then we'll heat set this. So I have my heat tool set to the side, ready to go. It's not turned on because it will overheat, but there we go. I'm going to remove my platform. I'm going to bring in a scrap piece of paper to help catch under the excess embossing powder. I'll cover the entire image, or images I should say, with the embossing powder, shaking off any of the excess, checking any spots that didn't quite grab it. And once I have them all, I'll return the extra embossing powder back into the container so it looks pretty good. I'll dump everything else back before I make a huge mess, and then I'll heat set this with the heat tool. So basically we're going to melt all this embossing powder. If you've never embossed before, you need a nice juicy sticky type ink. So you can't use dye ink. You need more of a pigment ink because it stays wet longer, or VersaFine, Versamark ink, which is a clear sticky ink. And then you have your embossing powder. You place it. It's going to look grainy and dull. And then you use a heat tool to set it or melt it. And it goes from this dull to shiny. You can see it on screen right here. And once it's completely shiny, no longer grainy, it's been embossed. It's been heat set for you. Now I like doing embossing when I watercolor because it helps contain all my water and my pigments. So it's a cheat basically. All right, I'm gonna set that aside to cool. While that's cooling, because you need it, it is pretty hot, and if you touch it, it'll just get smeary and sticky. It'll be a mess basically. So I'm gonna let that cool. While that's cooling, we're gonna go ahead and stamp both our sentiments because we're gonna do the same thing. We're going to emboss them. So I'm placing back the little piece of cardstock that I cut the little sentiment strips out of, and I'm into my stamp press to hold them in place. The sentiments I pulled out is Thinking of You. I'll use that one for the little birdie. And then the Let Your Dreams Be Your Wings I'll use for the feathers. So I'm going to do the same thing I did before. I'll put some anti-static powder onto my cardstock. Right now I'm just lining up my sentiments. I'm going to pull it off screen for a second to make sure they're lined up. And then I will stamp it with the Nocturne ink, place the clear embossing powder on top, and heat set it. It's the same thing we just did. So I'm going to do that really quick. Again, I'm trying to line it up. My old eyes can't see it that far, so I need to pull it closer. So I'm sorry I'm off screen. All I'm doing is adjusting to make sure it's lined up. Once it is, I will stamp it. There it is, finally lined up. I'm telling you, getting old is no joke. So now there you go. I'm going to rub off the anti-static powder that got onto my stamp with the palm of my hand, and then I'll ink it up. Again, double checking with my finger to make sure it's good. Use my little press buddy here, and then once I have it like I like it, I will remove it from here and put the embossing powder. This stamp buddy is so adorable. I have the little frog. I know there's other ones in the shop, so I'll make sure I'll link this one, but go feel free to check out all the rest that are over there. All right, so I'm going to do the same thing. Place it on the piece of paper, get my embossing powder, coat the two sentiments, shake off the excess, tap it all off. I'm going to grab my tweezers to get this one because it's kind of covered there, and then I'll just hold it from the side. Set them aside for a sec, put all the excess back into the container, and close that container before I make a huge mess. There we go. Now I'll grab my heat tool and heat these until they're thoroughly melted. This process is really easy. It just takes extra few steps, and it just gives a nice shine. And then you place it on your card. It just looks beautiful once it's embossed. You can emboss in any color with clear embossing powder if you don't want to invest in all the different colors of embossing powder. They come in a variety of colors, but if you just want to use your inks and not have a bunch, just get clear. Okay, so those are all done. I'm going to set them to the side. Our images are cooled off, so I have them here, just showing you real quick. These are the colors I'll be using for my background that I'm going to use for the feathers. But I just wanted to show you real quick the images are cooled off and ready to go. We're going to start with our background first to give that some time to dry. So I'm going to set that aside. We're going to start with card 1, which will be our feather card. We're going to bring in that extra panel of Coldpress cardstock. Coldpress watercolor cardstock, I should say. And the colors I have on top for the background are Tumbled Glass, Weathered Wood, and Mermaid Lagoon. So to start our background, I'm just putting clean, well, it's clear, of course, clean water onto my panel. I'm just going to put that. We're doing the wet on wet technique here. So I paint with just plain water, and then I just drop in the other colors. So I started with tumbled glass. I threw in a little bit of the weathered wood. I'm going to put a little bit more on my palette here, and then the mermaid lagoon. So I just keep playing with it until I get it to look how I would like it to look. And you can just push it into it, smear it however you want. The more water you add, the lighter the pigments will get. The less water you put in, the darker they will be. So I just keep adding until I get it how I want. Now, normally I have this taped onto a board, but I was just going for it here. You can tape it down if you prefer, or you can do the old hold it down with your fingers method like I'm doing here. Once I think I like it, I'll start heat setting it. This helps also if you want to put more layers, if you heat set it in between. Or like I'm doing, putting the heat and adding more. That just adds more depth. So you get some lighter, some darker. So I'm going to keep doing that. And then I'll set this to the side. But first, I'm going to do my ink splatter because I want it to all dry and at once instead of letting this dry and then doing the ink splatter. So this is about where I want it. So I'm going to just go ahead and grab my black soot and press some of that into my palette. And then I'll add a little water. Now, I'm using the Distress Oxide for my splatter. Distress stain is basically like a watercolor already for you. But the oxide, when you add water to it, it gets a little chalky is the best way to describe it. So it gives you a different feel, you know. But I'm gonna mix it with a little black paint because I want it to be a little bit darker. So I want some of this chalky lighter black. And now I'm gonna add a little bit of black acrylic paint, also mixing it with water so I can splatter it. And this will be a bit darker because it just adds a different texture or opacity, I should say, to the background. All right, so now I got it how I want it. I'm gonna go ahead and set that completely to the side to dry. While that's drying, we will color in our images. I'm wiping down my palette. I'm gonna flip it over either way because I still have too much black soot and paint on there. But I'm just gonna flip it over and use the other side. Now for our feathers, I'm gonna use Hickory Smoke and Chip Sapphire. I'm using the Distress inks for this. And I'm gonna bring in that Sheer Shimmer Craft Spray in Sparkle. I'm shaking it up because all the pigments set to the bottom and you want to incorporate them. So we're going to add some of that onto our palette. And you can do this one or two ways. You can do it like I'm going to do here. I'm going to just paint like I did the same way, add a little water to the ink and color directly to the paper. Or you can mix that sheer shimmer into each of the colors and each color will become super shimmery. I'm going to do a little bit of both. First, I'm going to just add water to the ink here and place it onto my image. I'm doing direct first just to see if I like it, but it's not blending how I would like. So now I'm going to do the wet technique where I paint with water first and then drop in the colors. Now it's blending how I want it to blend, and I will just keep repeating this until I get it exactly how I want it. And then I will add the shimmer towards the end, and then I mix the two, the shimmer with the ink and blend it in. I know it sounds crazy right now, but it will make sense. All right, so here I'm going to start with the second one. I'm going to go ahead and start adding the Hickory Smoke on the bottom and then the Chip Sapphire towards the top. And I'm with the water added to it, it just lightens it just a bit so it's not so strong, and they blend beautifully. See, it's blending easier with adding the water first. All right, so now I'm cleaning my paintbrush in between. Here I got a little more water than I wanted, and all I did was use a paper towel to soak up the water. So that's looking good. Now I'm going to start adding that sparkle spray. I'm going to heat set it just a bit, but not too much, because you don't want to remelt your embossing powder. So I needed it had too much wetness. So I just wanted to heat it, set it a little bit. So now I'm going to add that sparkle spray right on top, blending the two colors because we're reactivating all that ink. So I'm going to go ahead and add that. And now I'm going to mix in the chip sapphire with the sparkle. As you can see on the palette, I'm blending those two together and painting with that. There we go. And now I did this. I'm going to do the same thing a little bit more with our hickory smoke. So I'm going to mix that, add that towards the bottom of the feather. And once I get it how I like, now there we go, we're all set. Now I'm going to clean my palette and I'm going to color the little birdie. I'm trying to get all of the steps done together, assembly line this so it goes a little faster. So now for the little birdie, I use mustard seed and fossilized amber, and I have spice marmalade for one of the feathers and ripe persimmon for the other. I pulled these colors that coordinated best with the pattern paper that I'm using. So for the body of our birdie, I'm going to start with the mustard seed, and then I'll add some detail in with the fossilized amber. Again, I'm doing that wet on wet technique where I paint with water, and then I add the color, and just that way that it blends faster and easier. There we go, get the whole body going. And now I clean my brush in between, and now I'm going to grab that fossilized amber and I'm going to place it mostly where the stamp already gave us the little shadowy parts. So those little lines that are in the little birdie. There we go. Once I get it how I want it, I'm going to grab myself a smaller brush and color in these feathers. I'm alternating. So mustard seed, skip a feather, mustard seed. Then I'll come in with the ripe persimmon on the feathers that I didn't fill in with the mustard seed. Not mustard seed, I'm sorry. Spice marmalade. I'm not sure where I'm going today. So I put a little ripe persimmon in the little beak as well. Now everyone's all colored in, ready to go. I'm going to let these dry, fussy cut them off screen, and when I come back, everybody will be cut and ready to be put cards together. So here we are, magic of videoing. All of it is cut. Here's our feathers. Look at all that shine and shimmer. And here's our cute little birdie. So I'm going to set my birdie to the side because we're going to create the feather card first. So here's our background, which I distressed. So to distress it, I use a distress tool. All you have, if there's several of those out there, this tool has like a little blade stuck in there, and you just stick it between that opening and rub it across, and it just frays and distress the edge. If you don't have that and you have scissors, you can use that. Please be careful. They're sharp. So these scissors here, you just open it and rub it against one of the blades, just like that. If you don't want to use your fussy cutting scissors, you can use your bigger scissors. Same thing, right against the blade, you're going to rub against the edge like so. So whether you use the large scissors, small scissors, or the distress tool, it's the same concept. So first I trimmed down my cardstock, I should say, and then I distressed it. So I'm going to adhere this. Let me get all the fluff, because that distressing creates a lot of fluff. So I have a lot of fluff all over my desk. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere the watercolor background onto the black cardstock. I'm going to use plenty of glue because it's warped a bit from all the inking and the distressing. So I'm going to go ahead and, well, not inking, it's, yeah, I guess ink, because I used ink to watercolor that background, and place it onto the black cardstock. Again, I'm going to put plenty of glue on here and adhere that to our card base. Once I get it all centered up, I will place two acrylic blocks that I have in my stash here on top. These are not stamping blocks, they're just heavy little acrylic blocks. While that's drying, I'm going to go ahead and adhere our two feathers together, get them how I want, one slightly higher than the other. That way I can move them as one unit. I'll flip them over and put some foam adhesive on the back. So I'll put several pieces on there, and then I'll do the same to our sentiment, just prepping it, getting ourselves ready for when that panel is all dry. It'll be quick to put our card together. Grab my sentiment, put some foam adhesive on that. There we go. And then I'll remove the backing, getting everything prepped and ready to go. So get that last one off and do the same thing with our feathers. Get all the backing off of that. That's just, it gives us some more time for our panels to dry or just catch. There we go. Move my blocks out of the way, and now my card is basically ready to put our focal point. So I'm going to go ahead and center this on here. And here's my sentiment. And oh, I think I want to put some twine or something in here. So I'm going to grab this one here. It's white has silver twirled into it, which is perfect to pick up on that silvery shimmer that our feathers have. I'm going to create like a little bundle. I just twirl them through my fingers. I'm going to tuck it under the feathers. I'm going to grab my tweezers here so I can lift the bottom feathers up. I'll tuck that twine, and then I have to make adjustments. I will lift it and then tuck my sentiment in there. Trying to pull them out, make sure I have it nice and even. There we go. I'm liking the way that looks. Trying to debate where I put the sentiment on top or tuck it under. I like it under better. So I'm going to go ahead and place that like that. Make sure it's straight. Looks good. I'll press it into place. Now, I had pulled pearls and crystals because I wasn't sure which one I would like best, because I just wanted to give it that. The pearls give it more of like a cloudy type thing, but the crystals go better. So I'm going to go with the crystals instead. So I'm going to place some adhesive down, and then I'll place my crystals on top of those. Even though they're adhesive back crystals, I like to put a little extra adhesive for security reasons. Because I've just put some down before and they popped off, and lose a crystal is not the same thing. So I'm just using my embellishment wand, the picker side, the pokey side, to put those on. So I got those all on there. Got a few, 1 or 2 more to go. Get that. There we go. And actually, I like it like that. All right, so there we go. Those are all the beautiful shimmer and shine from the feathers and the crystals to move across the card. Now for card 2. For card 2, we have all our components and our cute little birdie. So I cut this with an arch die from my stash, and the reason why I did that is because it gave me the feel like a bird cage. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere this piece of brown cardstock on the bottom so that it can be the quote-unquote perch for our little bird. So she's not just, out there in the middle of anything. So being that she's like in this little sitting position, so she can sit right on that little perch. And then I'll put the sentiment towards the top. So I'm going to adhere this now to my Goldenrod yellow cardstock. I'm going to try to center this, make sure it's straight. And I didn't do it. I got to take it up and fix it. It's slightly off. It's going to drive me crazy. So there we go. Now, there we go. Nice and straight. Now I can adhere that to my card base, and then we can pop up our little birdie and place it in the card. And I moved the whole panel. Today is not the day, I'm telling you. So I moved the panel, now I can adjust it, and still didn't get it on correct, but I will fix it after. All right, so I'm going to put some foam adhesive on the back of our little birdie here. And then I'll remove the backing and place it, like I said, onto the brown cardstock right in the center. And I drew all the colors using that pattern paper, that flourishy pattern paper for the bird that we colored today. And then I'll put a foam strip behind our sentiment, and I'll place it towards the top here. So I'm now a little bit more in. I had it too far over, and now I'm going to put some glitter enamel dots on to our card. So I'm going to start with one down here near the bottom of the perch, and then some around our birdie and our sentiment. Now I've had these glitter enamel dots in my stash for a while, so definitely want to put some adhesive down for those. And we're almost done with our card. Just once we put these last little enamel dots down. And now we're complete. So let me clear this out of the way so I can bring in my other card. So here are two cards using the watercolor technique. Simple, quick, and easy that you can do along with the Birds of a Feather stamp set. We have our two feathers that we've used from the stamp set and this cute little birdie and our sentiments. I will have everything linked for you in the description box below. Thank you for being here. I'm going to give you one more look at our cards. Don't forget to like and subscribe.